Now, it is my great pleasure to introduce Paul Feig, who is one of those helpful industry people I mentioned earlier. He is here to help start you on your way with some words of advice, delivered as only he will. Paul Feig is a filmmaker, writer, producer, and author. He is also, they tell me, a comedy genius, and his work would prove it. Paul has directed multiple episodes of some of the best television comedies in history, among them Arrested Development, The Office, Nurse Jackie, Weeds, 30 Rock, and Mad Men. He served as co-executive producer on both The Office and Nurse Jackie. He was nominated for an Emmy and won a Directors Guild Award for outstanding directing for his work on The Office. Paul also created the beloved and critically acclaimed show Freaks and Geeks. And was Emmy nominated for both the pilot and the finale, which he wrote and also directed. He produced the Golden Globe-nominated Peanuts movie, as well as the Yahoo original series, Other Space. And he wisely teamed up with some of the comedy world's biggest stars, all women, for the global mega hits, Bridesmaids and The Heat. Both of which he produced and directed. Paul is also the director of what is undoubtedly one of the year's most anticipated films, the reboot of Ghostbusters, which will be released July 1. July 15th, I think it is. But I take particular pleasure in introducing Paul because back in 1982, when I was head of Columbia, I put together and greenlighted the first Ghostbusters. So there's a certain poetic connection here. Paul Feig was a Jack Oakey Comedy Award winner while he was a student at the School of Cinematic Arts. He was also among the first alums to support the school's groundbreaking comedy program. And he's also from Michigan, as am I, and I think that helps develop your sense of humor a lot. So, please join me in welcoming SCA alumnus and distinguished member of our Trojan family, Paul Feig.
Hello. What's up, graduates? You did it. Come on, huh? Unbelievable. It's so great. I cannot congratulate you all. Allow me to take this coffee table off my head, if I may. I was told I could take it off. There you go. How's my hair? All right. No, it's really, having been through it, being an alumni, having been here, having gone through the program, back when there was many less majors than you have right now. I was actually, when I started here, the bungalows were still up. I think I helped take them out of business. So it's just really, I'm really so proud of you, and I hope you really appreciate the accomplishment that you have done by getting through this amazing school and this amazing major. So congratulations. Give yourself another hand. Yes, your parents' dreams that you would go into a highly unstable field with no guaranteed income have come true. So, congratulations, parents. As Frank said, I'd just like to thank Dean Daly for asking me. This is such an honor to be asked to do this. It's so nerve-wracking to give a commencement speech because, you see so many online and they all sound so smart, and then you go to do yours and you're like, okay, let's not tank it. So. Here we go. No, as Frank said, I'm from Michigan, and thank you. Any Michiganders in here? Nice. I'm going to run through the states. Who's from Iowa? All right, who's from? I'm going to eat up this 10 minutes really fast. No, I was a kid in Michigan, and my goal was to be in showbiz. But my father owned an army surplus store, and when you're in Michigan, you say you want to be in showbiz, you might as well say you want to, live on Mars. And I worked in my dad's army surplus store starting when I was 5 years old. I was a forced child labor. I always wished my dad was a lawyer or a fireman or something where you couldn't work for your father without getting arrested. But I worked in my dad's store, but the whole time I wanted to be in showbiz. And when I was 17 years old, well, actually, I should tell you, my father gave me my first break in showbiz because he knew I wanted to do it when I was 15 years old. He came to me and said, "How would you like to make my commercials for me?" Which was a mind blower being in Michigan. So I said, yes, of course. So I wrote these commercials, which they brought the local crew down from Channel 50, the VHS station that played Leave It to Beaver and Brady Bunch reruns. And I got to make my commercial. As one guy showed up with a camera, another guy was the sound guy. And we went all around the store, and I put on different outfits from the different sections of the store and did my commercial and cut it together, and it aired on Channel 50. And I remember thinking, like, well, now I can't go out of the house because I'll be so famous. I'll be mobbed. I didn't get mobbed. I got beaten up a little bit more at school after that. And once I was waiting on a man, a giant biker, showing him giant knives, which is always great for a 15-year-old kid to be showing a biker knives, thanks to my father. You stand, literally the counter is about 2 feet wide, and you stand here, and there's a guy with an enormous knife who could literally just go like this and kill you. But he was looking at the knife, and he said to me, he goes, "Hey, you're that guy that did a commercial, right?" I said, "Well, yes, thank you very much." He said, "Hey, I didn't say I liked it." All right, so I got my first review. But from there, I made a decision. I was going to go to Hollywood. I wanted to go to Hollywood. My father said, "You can stay here and run my store." He really wanted me to take over his store. I was an only child, by the way. And he said, "You can stay in Michigan. You can work, you can advertising. There's a company called Jam Handy, which if you want to have a store, if I have a business, call it Jam Handy." I still don't know where that came from. It sounds absolutely filthy. It was not about porno, I swear. But I said, "No, I'm going to go to Hollywood. I'm going to go to Hollywood." So he said, "Well, I have a friend in Hollywood. He's a manager, and I'll have him send you some info." So this guy sent me a copy of Variety. And back in the day, Variety on Thursdays, I think it was, had a production chart that said all the studios and the things, all the movies in production. So I went through, and it's had the numbers of all those universities, and so I just started cold calling every one of the studios, I should say, and you get some, poor, I don't know, somebody answering the phones and say like, "Hi, I'm an actor, and I would like to know if you have any jobs available for actors at your studio." And they'd all say, "Well, we have accountants we need," and this, and I was like, "No, I don't do that." So I literally went through the entire list and got to Universal Studios, and when I called them, they said, "Well, we need tour guides." So I thought, well, hey, when I was a kid, I went on the Universal Studios tour, and at the end of all the Universal movies, they used to have a thing that said, "When in Hollywood, take the Universal Studios tour." And if you remember Animal House, at the end, I think Babs was a tour guide at Universal Studios. So I thought, I'm going to do that. So I got my friend, and we jumped in the car, and we drove 36 hours, because they said the auditions for that are coming up in 36 hours to even get here. So I went, did it, got in, and was a tour guide. When I was a tour guide for that summer of 1981, friends and I went to the opening morning showing of Raiders of the Lost Ark at the Man Chinese. And I remember sitting there, and I knew nothing about it. This was before the internet, kids. When you didn't know everything about a movie, like cameos and who's in Ghostbusters and all that crap. And there was no Twitter either, where people call you an asshole all day long. So, that's the other side of the business, right? But I remember sitting in the Man Chinese, and this movie comes on, and we kind of didn't know what to expect. And the minute that boulder, it's a famous scene, we've seen it a bazillion times. We'd never seen that before. That boulder came rolling down that hill, and the audience literally leapt out of their seats and started screaming. And I'd never heard anything like that. And before then, I wanted to be an actor, and I was like, oh, I want to be in this, and oh, it'd be so fun to be on the screen and that. That's the first time I went, I think I see what a director does. I think I see what a filmmaker does. They can take these emotions and take this technical prowess and actors and all this and put it together and make something that really moves people and can make them leap out of their seats and give them this amazing experience. And so that was the moment I went back to my tour guide friends when we were at Universal. I said, like, okay, so Spielberg did that and George Lucas, and how did they learn to do that? And they said, well, those guys, a lot of them went to USC Film School. I said, what's USC Film School? I'd never heard of it. I knew USC, but I didn't know there was a film school. And they said, it's the best film school in the country. So I said, well, gosh, okay. And they said, but you'll never get in. You'll never get in. The waiting list is impossible. They don't take that many people. But fortunately that year, thank you, I guess they were looking for people who didn't know the industry. And I was a kid from Michigan with no experience. I'd shot a couple of Super 8 movies on my dad's camera. And lo and behold, I got in. And it was just this mind blower. And so coming here, I'd never really left Michigan except to be a tour guide. And so I'd gone back and done my sophomore year at Wayne State University, where I was a mass media major. And came back here and went to USC Film School. And it just blew my mind. Although I did underwhelm. My very first thing I wrote in my script writing class was so hated that the reviews were so terrible for it that I endeared myself to my professor at the time because I took all the terrible reviews that all the students wrote and I put those ... dots in the middle. So you go like, this movie ... is great. Where lifting out is the worst piece of crap I ever saw. So went in, but I came in here as a guy wanting to do comedy. And amazingly, now you guys have a comedy minor, which I think applause to everybody here for making that happen, everybody involved with that. Because you don't know what a weirdo I was wanting to do comedy. Because it was a very serious time. I think USC is probably maybe a little cooler, not cooler, I shouldn't say that, but a little more open. It was great. I loved everybody I went to film school with, but I was the weirdo who wanted to do comedy. And I think one of my masterpieces was a cartoon called The Day Pac-Man Got Full. A 30-second odyssey in which we watched Pac-Man. It was just a shot of a Pac-Man board, and I did it all with cutout animation. And you watch Pac-Man eat every single dot, and he goes, oh, I'm getting full. And then he ate a few more, and then he vomited up all the dots. To which you hear the voice of the child playing the game say, hey, Pac-Man, let's play again. And he says, oh, go read a book, kid. And that was comedy gold that launched the career I'm on. I still don't know why you gave me my diploma after that. But, so with that, my USC film degree, I got out and I kind of went into all the different aspects of the business. I got out, I came in kind of wanting to be the guy who was going to write and direct and star in his own movies, and I left much more interested in sort of making the movies. But I still went and had a acting career on many canceled shows. Although you may remember me as Mr. Poole on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Yes. I love that I dropped that credit, like it's cool. But the cool thing is that okay, well, here, I'm sorry. The one thing I forgot to say. So the guy that sent me, who was my father's friend, who was a manager, that was the first meeting I had when I got to LA. I got into the tour guide program, and then I went to meet this guy who's this manager. He managed anybody my age and older in the crowd. There used to be a TV show that was on for about 2 episodes called Pink Lady and Jeff. I remember that. Pink Lady was this pair of Japanese women who were the kind of models, and they were sort of comic relief, and Jeff Altman, this comedian, was their sidekick. Well, this guy represented Pink Lady. So I remember going into his office, and there was pictures of Pink Lady around. I was like, man, I am in the heart of showbiz. This is it. I am a made man. And so I sat down with the guy, and he sits me down in his big office, and I sit across from him, and I sit there like, here it comes, and he goes, all right, well, I don't know what to tell you. I can't do anything for you. And at first I was like, how dare you, sir? My father's a friend of yours. But it was the greatest lesson I ever could have gotten when I came to Hollywood, because I realized no one can do it for you. I was a kid from Michigan. I didn't know anything. I didn't know showbiz. Nobody knew me. And so I went, I got to do this on my own. So thanks to USC and then going out there and doing it, and just kind of working and working. I was an actor, like I said, and then I was a script reader right out of here. I did an internship for Michael Phillips and read all the top scripts in town. This was like 1985. And one of the greatest lessons I ever got was I was a script reader reading all the best scripts from all the top agencies and the best writers. So they would come in and you would read them, and 99% of them were terrible. And so it was that moment you go like, well, I can write something as bad as that. And it was a weird inspiration. And so you just kind of, you got to feed off of the failure of other people, really, at some point. Yeah, someone will with me very soon. So, so I went through the business, and then I finally kind of just started when I was an actor, I would hang out with the directors and hang out with the writers and kind of get to know them, and then just kind of always watching, always learning, never sitting in my trailer, never just like, shooting the crap with the other actors. I wanted to learn, and because of that, you just slowly kind of start to see where you want to go. And I kind of, from being an actor and then doing that, I created Freaks and Geeks, which was just something because I was on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I'm sorry, this is like a therapy session. I apologize. When I was on Sabrina the Teenage Witch, we did one season, and I made enough money where I said, I'm going to finally make my own movie. And so I wrote this movie that could take place in a field, 4 people in a field. And I made it for $30,000 back when you could only make a movie on 16 millimeter film. And so it all went into that. I could have made that movie now on my iPhone for $1. And I made this thing, and I tried to get into film festivals, and it was the first year that everybody started doing independent films. I don't know, it was 1997. Suddenly everybody made independent films. I couldn't get into any film festival except this thing called Hitflix, I think it was called, where they airlift you into the middle of the country, rent you a car, and you drive around with your film, which I had on videotape, and you show it in the most obscure colleges you've ever heard in your life. Anybody know where College Misericordia is? Never heard of it? Good, because I screened my movie there. And I showed up at one place, and it was empty, and they were on vacation. And I said, why did you book me? He said, well, we had $700 in the budget, so we thought we'd just book it. So I played to an empty room, and a janitor, I think, came and saw my movie. Why did I bring that up? I don't know. Oh, because when I was out on the road doing that, driving around, I said, I got to write something. I always like to write, because I always like to be doing something, and that's when I wrote the pilot for Freaks and Geeks. And my friend Judd Apatow had just made a deal at DreamWorks. We had been stand-ups together, and I said, oh, I'll send it to him, and he got it and liked it, and then suddenly they bought it, and then it happened. So the bottom line of that story is just that I never kind of stopped working, never stopped writing, never stopped kind of brainstorming. And that's the biggest thing I can impart to you guys is keep doing stuff. I knew guys who would, like, back then, like, wrote a script, and every 5 years I'd see them, and they're like, hey, what's going on? They're like, oh, that script I wrote is, it's out here. It's like, write another script. What's wrong with you? Keep writing. You can't do enough stuff. You've got to keep doing it. So I want to get to, I've got some bits of advice for you here. And so these are my little headlines of my advice that I will leave you with, because I made the baby cry, and that means I got to get up. All right, rule number 1, cover the baby's ears. Don't be an asshole. That's the best rule I can give you. We all read the stories about the guys and they're fighting and it sounds so cool. It's not cool. I'm telling you, it's not cool. You can get to a point, maybe, if you're awesome and you just keep knocking things out of the park, where maybe you can dip into the asshole pool. But this business is really hard, and it's great, but you don't want to spend time with assholes, and everybody wants to have a great time. Everybody wants to make something great. Nobody goes into something going, let's make something terrible. You want to make something great. So be cool while you're doing it, because people will hire you again. Because if you screw up and you're an asshole, they won't hire you again. But if you're nice and you screw up, they'll go like, let's give it another shot. So it'll buy you one free pass. Rule number 2, love your actors. If you're working with actors, when I was here, there was a story that everybody loved to tell, and it's a very funny story about Alfred Hitchcock, and there was an actor down at the end of a street, and he was doing a big wide shot, and the actor was supposed to run up the street to him, and the actor says, what's my motivation? And Hitchcock says, I'll tell you when you get here. And I find that very funny too, but everybody repeated it so much with such contempt for the actors, like, what an idiot that guy is. Why do you want to know? Look, you can run down the street a million different ways. If he's scared, you run like this. If you're Jerry Lewis, you run like this. It's like, it can be done a lot of different ways. So although, so just love the actors. I mean, they're really in a hard place. Your job as a director, as a cinematographer, as anybody, is to create a safe environment in which your actors can thrive. And it really, I think that it should extend also to your crew. This goes back to rule number one. You really got to create an environment where people can thrive and have ideas and be open and be part of the process. Because if you shut things down, you have a tense set, and I know there's directors love to work on a tense set. Like, it's not good. Like, people aren't good under tension. You want everybody to be at their best. You want people having ideas. If you're the director, you're the arbiter of it all. People can give you a million ideas. You don't have to take them, but if somebody gives you a great idea, you're the director, you still get credit for it. So, take it. Okay, the only funny anti-actor story I will tell you is Richard Donner, the great director Richard Donner, keeps a bust of Lincoln on his desk. And I said, why do you do that? And he says, to remind myself that Lincoln was killed by an actor. So, there you go. I cannot take credit for that one. Rule number 3, love the audience. Love the audience. Don't be rule number 1. Don't break rule number 1. It's very easy, look, especially we're in film school, and we know what we love, and we know, we're inundated by entertainment and by movies and everything, because that's our bread and butter. That's what we live by. We study it. We go like, oh, that's hacky, but we saw that. That's old. That's new. People work jobs. They have lives. They have kids. We are their time off. We are their comfort food. We are their vacation. And they work a hard job, everything, and they sit down at the end of the day and they want to watch a movie, they want to watch a TV show. If they like something, that's their prerogative. And it's up to us to figure out how do we make something they like that can entertain them, and then if we can sneak all the other stuff in and teach them something or make them feel something or show them something they haven't seen. But don't judge them. I just feel like, especially when I was here at film school, there was a lot of judgment against stupid people liking stupid things. It's like there are no stupid people liking stupid things. People like what they like, so just try to entertain them. That's all I can say to you. Good. Another rule, kind of piggybacking on that, because I'm a comedy guy, if you can, make people laugh. You can sell a lot more to them. I mean, and I don't mean like sell them, trying to sell tickets. I mean, you can sell them ideas and all this by making them laugh. Even if you're doing a heavy drama, it's okay to put a joke in there. Sometimes I see things that are so devoid of humor, like people have to work hard to not make things funny. Think about if you're out with a person who is so serious they never make a joke and they never laugh, you want to kill them, right? You don't want to hang out with them. So don't make movies about those people. Don't be a control freak. Collaborate. This kind of goes back to what I talked about earlier. If you get on a set, I'm friends with some really like the top comedy people, and one of them in particular, I won't name any names, had just done a movie with a writer-director that I know who's brilliant. And I said to this person, and it was her with another very famous, great comedy person. I said, it must have been the best time of your life. And she said, it was horrendous because he would not let us deviate one word from the script. We couldn't do anything. It's like, why would you hire funny, talented people and not get their input? The whole thing you do when you get to that set, and you know that, I'm telling you stuff you guys already know, but when you get to the set, it's all about getting to the set. All this work and writing and getting stuff together is all about that moment when you hit that set and you got the cameras. That's when it starts. That's when you go, oh my God, look at how they're saying that line. Look at the interaction between them. That's so interesting. Let's play on that, or let them improv, or let's come up with a new line, or let's do something to kind of get in the moment and let it all happen. You're capturing lightning in a bottle when you're shooting something. Don't cut yourself off from anything. Don't cut yourself off from the actor's input. Don't cut yourself off from the writer's input. Have the writers on the set, unless they fight you on everything, then you can throw them off. But even the crew, if they come up with a great idea, like, hear it, because that's the moment. That's what makes a movie a movie. That's what makes these moments work, is that they're happening for the first time in front of a camera. Let those things happen. This is interesting advice for you. Controversial. Don't try to win awards. Don't try to win awards. I'm telling you, the minute you start going into a project, going like, this will be my Oscar winner, this or that, you're going to underwhelm yourself, you're going to underwhelm the audience. It's just a bad goal. So really make the best thing you can do. When we made Bridesmaids, the last thing in the world we thought we'd get nominated for 2 Oscars. We got nominated for 2 Oscars. we did the work, we had great people, and if it happens, it happens, but don't let it drive you, because it's a dead-end hole. If there is such a thing as a dead-end hole. I think that's a bar by my house, but I want to tell you. Anyway, keep making things. There's never been a better time to make stuff. The industry used to hold two things over us: production and distribution. It cost a fortune to make something, and you couldn't get it out there. Now, again, like I said, the iPhone, you can shoot it for nothing. Your laptop comes with editing equipment. You can make something, and then you've got the internet to distribute it. Anything go out there. So the only caution is make sure it's good when you put it out there. Because if it's not, it's out there forever. And then people go, hey, let's look at that thing. And you have all this other good stuff. And they go, oh, that one sucked. And then they don't watch the rest of them. So be careful. Be careful, kids. Your digital footprint. I'm 80 years old. And the last thing I can tell you is really, for all the rules I just told you, there are no rules. There's no rules. You will be here throughout your whole career. You can't do this, you gotta do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. When I was an actor, I went through this, like, they told me, like, you can never host a show. You can never be the host of a show, because then you can never be an actor. I was like, oh, really? But there's a job on this show, it'll be really funny. No, don't do it. They'll never take you seriously. So then Greg Kinnear ends up hosting The Soup. God, these are old references, I apologize. But I'm 53 years old, I can get with it. Greg Kinnear was a host on this show called The Soup, and suddenly he became a big actor, and he got nominated for an Oscar, I think. So you will hear these things. Learn everything you can. Get to know the rules. Know why they're there. They're there for a reason, but do not let them kill your inspiration. Do not let them put you in a box. Do not let them stop you from doing something that you are passionate about doing. Because if you let it stop you, somebody else will break all the rules, and you're like, and they'll be successful, and they're like, hey, you said I couldn't do that. And they're like, well, no, they could do it. It's like, what? Why can't I do it? So don't fall for that. I've rambled. I apologize. This is the terrible speech. But anyway, I'm not going to keep you from your diplomas. I just can't, again, thank you enough. I can't be more proud of all you for getting through this. You are going to be an alum of the most amazing school with the most amazing faculty. You've learned from the best. Now go forth, tell your stories, and help make the world a better place while you're doing it. Thanks.